Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the 330 Sports Show. I'm Justin Coffin. Greg Kirchner is going to jump on here in just a minute with me. We got a packed Wednesday. We're doing a 2 for Tuesday. We're going to start with Ohio State and college football here. We're going to have a second show on in a little bit about Cleveland sports as well. But today is Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. As always, we are a Youngstown Studio production. You can catch all of our previous shows on the Youngstown Studio YouTube page and on their Facebook page as well. And don't forget to follow the 330 Sports Show on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with a friend. All that good stuff really helps us out spreading the word. Quick little intro for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we got another big-time guests on the show. You know, we featured some great people around the sports world. You know, we've had Olympic champions. We've had some great world champion head coaches, some great athletes, all-time broadcasters. Tomorrow's no different. We're having a former Ohio State All-American left tackle, as well as a second-round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to have Mike Adams on the show tomorrow. He's going to tell us about his story, his journey from Columbus to Pittsburgh, ended up playing with the Chicago Bears a little bit. So we're going to talk to Mike, tell us about his journey, what he's up to now. So really looking forward to that. Show will be live on Youngstown Studio tomorrow at 3:30. Now, for today's show, we've got a lot to dive into. We're going to talk Ohio State Buckeyes. We're going to break down the entire college football landscape as we roll into week 13. And we're going to take a little bit of a close look at Youngstown State as well. Their last game, it's a win and in scenario for them in the FCS. So another loaded big show today. Let's bring in co-host for the show here. Let's bring in Greg. Greg, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. We're watching Cavs up here, but Cavs are going to drop this one tonight, but no big deal early in the season. But we're here to talk Ohio State, get after it a little bit. And so, you know, you and I were at the game on Saturday. I think we left early, either right after halftime or, you know, early in the third quarter. The game was, I think, 24-0 at that point. But what were your takeaways from? I mean, it's hard. You know, what were your takeaways overall from that game on Saturday?
Yeah, it's hard to take away really too much. I mean, again, another kind of take care of business game. Did it a little bit more on the ground, which was nice to see, like kind of establishing the running game, breaking a few runs, getting over 200 yards rushing. I think I want to say for the first time, maybe it might have been all season, but maybe at least
against the FBS team.
Yeah, against an FBS team. So, yeah, I mean, continue to take care of business. It was a beautiful night in the shoe. Obviously, and I know we're going to talk about it, the concern, really all of the concern right now is on the health of our top two wide receivers and what that's going to mean for the Michigan game and beyond, knowing that we probably won't see them in the Rutgers game and probably won't need to see them in the Rutgers game, but we really will need them in 10 days, I think, to feel really good about our chances, or the game will be a little bit of a different ball game. I mean, you could see the passing game did struggle a little bit with, especially in the third quarter, just to like kind of some uncharacteristic incompletions, which is like weird to say, but it's like, it's also, well, it's tough to complain, you know. We're complaining because our quarterback was under 80% passing, but definitely, like, obviously when you have two of the top wide receivers in the country and they're not on the field, the passing game takes a hit. You could see it.
No doubt. So let's just go over a few things from the game here on Saturday. Just a few quick takeaways, news and notes. Ohio State's first kick return for a touchdown. How about that? Yeah. Since Jordan Hall versus Michigan in 2010. And the first 100-yard. Now in college, in the NFL, you can have, 109-yard kick return. In college, they only count it up to 100 yards. So he could have returned it 5 yards in the end zone. But Lorenzo Styles, first kickoff return since 2010, and the first one 100 yards since Ted Ginn in 2005 against Minnesota. So it goes way back. Bryson Rogers, one of those wide receivers you were talking about, like kind of one of the new guys stepping up. His first career receiving touchdown. James Peoples, we saw that live, and it was just about as good as it gets. Like, this guy has gotten a lot of, he's been much maligned, I guess we could say, on the season. Like, he's been, a guy that was hyped up sophomore year, like maybe, he might be the guy this year, and then a couple freshmen overtake him. But really nice game out of him. His first multi-touchdown game of his career and first touchdown on the season, believe it or not. And Bo Jackson, career high of 112 yards on 15 carries. He's looking real sharp right now. Fourth 100-yard game of the season. And this was a kind of a cool note from Ohio State. Their athletic department put out 21 Buckeyes had at least one tackle in the game. So that's when you know it's either a blowout or they're working guys in to try to make an impact. So a lot of those young guys, you want to get, they're working hard in the offseason. They're working hard during the season. Throw them a little love. Let them get in there, make some plays. And 21 different Buckeyes on defense had at least one tackle in the game. I thought that was kind of a cool stat. So,
that's really good. And we've done a really good job on both sides of the ball, getting a lot of people in and early too. This is not just like garbage time, third and fourth quarter. I mean, we've seen the last couple of weeks guys getting sprinkled in even in the first quarter in different situations, which is really good to see. And again, just a kind of a masterclass in managing the season with, based on the schedule that you have in front of you.
Absolutely.
And knowing the long game.
Yeah. And Ryan Day should be given a lot of credit for that. Like, we've talked about that in the past where, this Ohio State team, by the time they get to the playoff or at least the Big Ten title game, they'll have played at least one less game, most likely, than Indiana or whoever their first round opponent is, more likely closer to 2 games. So the pace of play is really important. What they're doing on and off the field is important to get these guys staying healthy. Now we'll get to a couple of the banged up guys that are very key contributors to this team coming up in a little bit. But, you look at these scores and, people keep saying, oh, Ohio State hasn't played anybody. Well, at the beginning of the year, everyone thought that Texas game was the biggest game of the season. Texas now a 3-loss team, but you know what? Somebody had to give them their first loss, and we did. Illinois back in the top 25. Penn State, obviously a down year, but that's still a really talented team. Washington's a good team at home, especially. I think we gave them their first loss in 4 years at home. So this schedule, after the fact doesn't look great, but you can only play who's in front of you. And we know this Rutgers game, you're not going to need Jeremiah Smith. You're not going to need Carnell Tate. Hell, you could probably play your straight backups and probably still win by at least 10, if not 2 touchdowns. But, the key is you're getting these guys ready. You're amping them up for, we all know what's coming at the end of the year. We all know, we're going up to Ann Arbor and we're looking to snap that winning streak and then get to the Big Ten title game, something no one on this roster has been to, and, get to Indy, and then let's see how the chips may lie when we get to the playoffs, So what's your expectation going into this Rutgers game? Like, I mean, do you, if Jeremiah Smith, if Carnell Tate are cleared to play, like, do you even want them out there, or do you, maybe like Jeremiah Smith, like play? I think he played like 3 possessions in that last game. Like,
still had a highlight reel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, do you want to get them out there, get a little run, or do you want, Jeremiah Smith taking 2 weeks off and Carnell Tate taking 3 or 4 weeks off before that Michigan game? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends, and we're always, because this isn't the NFL and the injury, the disclosing of injuries is a little bit different at the college level. It's hard to know like what's really bothering them. Obviously, like we probably all saw the video of Jeremiah Smith walking off the field on Saturday. It didn't look great, but and there was rumblings before the game, like he was questionable. it's the whole thing's a little strange because it's like if he had any injury whatsoever before the game, you would think they wouldn't have played him, given that it was UCLA. But nonetheless, we saw what we saw. I mean, was he tender? Was he just a little sore? Did he come down hard? Is it worst case like a soft tissue like muscle type injury?
Sure.
Tate we have no idea. Tate, we assume it's some type of pulled muscle or strain, call it, but don't really have any idea. He has shown no, like, that I've seen, like, there's no video of him limping or showing any favoring anything. So, I think, obviously an abundance of caution. So if they're injured in any way, if they're not 100%, don't play them. I think that's pretty easy one. If they are essentially 100%, maybe play them a little bit, especially Tate, who hasn't seen action in a while. But these guys are so good. It's like it's not one where it's like, well, you would need to play them to stay sharp. But, I would say I would be shocked if either of them played. But I think the only scenario where any of them would play is if they are completely 100% and, and we want to get them in for a little bit just to kind of keep them going and keep them sharp. But
or is this just Ryan Day playing chess instead of checkers, being like, you know what, you guys aren't going to give Julian Sayin the Heisman, with saying he's got the best weapons. You know what, I'm going to sit him. I'm going to sit those weapons. No, I'm just joking. But
yeah, it's you really that's the thing. You really don't know with just, the lack of injury disclosure, and which I thought they were going to start having to do more often in college. But
I think so. It's 2 hours before the game. It's posted. And that I think is from a betting perspective. I think at least in the NFL, they have to do that. But like from college, you're right. It's a little bit more close to the vest, but they do. And Jeremiah Smith last week was listed as questionable before the game, I think 2 hours before. And Tate was ruled out. But the previous week against Purdue, Tate was not on the injury report at all. And then, maybe just tweak something or whatever in warmups. But I think people's concern is Jackson Smith and Jigba. And they knew what a huge portion he was going to, what a huge role he was going to play on offense for that 2022 team. And then he basically missed the entire year, and they brought him back and then he got hurt again. And so, I can understand Ryan Day being cautious, but if they're healthy, I wouldn't play them against Rutgers, but if they're healthy, you got to play them against Michigan. I would rather them play against Michigan than play against Indiana.
Definitely. At this point, it's like, and I just would have everybody who has been around this program at the very minimum last year, but if not, years in the years prior, and even freshmen coming in who weren't even part of the program, like they understand how unbelievably significant this game coming up is. So I just can't imagine there's nobody. This is like, there is nothing past Michigan right now. We know we're going to end up in the playoff, and we think we're going to probably end up in the Big Ten championship. But, that is, we always talk about there, it's week to week mentality, but like everybody's kind of the last few weeks, especially, been looking ahead.
Yeah.
But nobody is looking past November 29th at this point, even though there is more football to be played beyond that. So, that would be the game, if any game. And then until you get into the playoffs, that guys would play banged up if they could. And, you're going to put it all out there for not only for yourself, but mainly for your team and for this university and just what we need to accomplish that day. So it might be a little bit of a smokescreen right now and kind of but it is, but nonetheless, we've been such a well-oiled machine all year. And then all of a sudden, like two very big components of that machine, have been, something's going on, and it's an unsettling feeling.
Absolutely. It's, it's, I always revert to how truly spoiled we are as Ohio State fans. And, I think a lot of people if things aren't perfect, we want to nitpick and we want to bitch about things. And we're like almost digging to find something wrong instead of just enjoying what's good about this team. And what's great about this team is the defense is excellent. The quarterback is the most efficient quarterback in America. Yes, you have the best weapons in college football, but like just about everything is going super well with this team. We could improve a few things. Yeah, maybe the right side of the offensive line, maybe the run game a little bit, but for the most part. Oh, and by the way, Bo Jackson, I just saw today is averaging like 6.6 yards per carry.
Yeah, I think he's top 10 in the country in yards per carry.
Pretty damn good for a bad
kind of an afterthought. Yeah.
And then another freshman, Isaiah West, is doing great things. James Peoples, who was like again much maligned, just scored two touchdowns and has been emerging. And then CJ Donaldson, I don't even think played on Saturday, but like he is basically a short yardage back at this point.
Yeah.
So,
props. You mentioned Peoples a couple of times. I like props to him because in this day and age, too, a guy that was probably, I think, coming in, we thought he was going to be either 1A or 1B running back.
Mm-hmm.
And, last handful of weeks, he's barely gotten any action. And there's kind of two ways you can deal with that, right? You can piss and moan and pout and think about the transfer portal, or you can go out and make the best out of the opportunities that you're given.
Yep.
And he's clearly doing the latter, and it's good for him. And whether he ends up finishing his career at Ohio State or not, it looks good on him, going forward. And
absolutely,
it just shows like that's how you handle adversity. Especially in a time when the easy thing to do is just, post something on social media and quit the team or go
something to complain about.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, he's doing a great job, and people forget like he's only a sophomore. It's not like he's a fourth year guy or something like that. So give this guy time. He's a lot of people compared him to J.K. Dobbins when he came in. Give him some time, and he's going to show you some stuff too. But like
you do not see very many touchdowns that feature a hurdle. I mean, usually it's like they hurdle a guy, everybody oohs and ahs, and they maybe get a couple yards and a couple more yards, and they get tackled. But to do that and then end up in the end zone, that was pretty special.
Absolutely. So yeah, do not recommend doing that on a regular basis.
And even his second one was big too, and that was also for the cover. So it was a double big.
You mean that
it
cover?
Was another nice touchdown in its own right. So
absolutely. Well, here's why I say we are totally spoiled as Buckeye fans. Let me just like. By 2025, I'd been like, no way. At that point, Ohio State was so down. And the reason I say that is Ohio State was coming off a bad run against Michigan. They were coming off two bad bowl losses against South Carolina. The John Cooper era was much maligned, not very good. A lot of talent, but a lot of wasted seasons. Ryan Day does not waste his talent. He does not waste his seasons. But look at all this stuff on here too. Top 10 finishes. 21 of those 25 seasons, we were in the top 10. 23 of those seasons, we were in the top 25. Also, only 2 years in the last 25 have we not finished inside the top 25? And that was 2001, and then that Luke Fickell year of 2011. And then our record against Michigan, I know what it is the last 4 years, but we're 17-7 over that span. That's pretty damn good. And for, Ohio State fans or fans around the country that like to jab at Ohio State, just look at those numbers and tell me, I understand Alabama had an unbelievable run. You know what Alabama was, though, for quite a while? Dog shit in the mid 2000s. And, they lost to Florida State earlier this year. They lost to Oklahoma this past weekend. They very well could be out. They very well could be out of the college football playoff if they lose their rivalry game. So, so no worries. It's this is like Ohio State. We're great. We're doing well. Keep it up with the that. But I just wanted to point some of these numbers out for how spoiled we truly are as college football fans. Real quick, glancing ahead to November 29th in Ann Arbor. Now we're about 10, 11 days out.
10 days. Yeah, it's crazy.
39 degrees, the high, 24 the low, but partly cloudy, mostly sunny, partly sunny, whatever you want to say. Now that won't be 100% accurate, but it doesn't look like there's any weather on the horizon there too, which hopefully that stays true. But again, prepare like you're going to go into a freaking blizzard, and if it's nice and sunny, even better for the Buckeyes. So quick note on that. But again, let's take a look real quick at some more numbers to be spoiled about. Ohio State, number 25 offense overall in the country. That doesn't include efficiency. This is just straight by the numbers. Defense, number 1 in the country. Number 1 in points per game, 7.5. Number 2 in passing yards per game, 131. Number 2 in rushing yards allowed at 81 yards per game. Pretty damn great stuff there. Passing yards, about 280 yards a game, and you're still scoring 36.5 points a game. So you're outscoring your opponents by basically 29 points a game, which is just great stuff. And whoever plays on Saturday, they're going to put it on Rutgers. Rutgers has got one of the worst defenses in the country. We're not going to spend a ton of time on Rutgers this week, but don't take your opponents too lightly, but also know it's freaking Rutgers. Yeah. And their defense is putrid. So it hopefully is a get right game for the offense and for Julian Sayin and whoever's at wide receiver this week. So it gives the other guys an opportunity to get after it and eat. So speaking of eating and Rutgers, Tony Soprano and the old Rutgers faithful did one of the kids? No, the one girl went to Columbia. The daughter went to Columbia.
Meadow went to Columbia. AJ, I don't
college.
Yeah.
There was some Rutgers ties in the Sopranos, though.
There's they just being New Jersey. I think is probably just being the state university in New Jersey. But yeah, it is this is there have been years in the past that we've got caught looking ahead to Michigan in games, but this is a different squad, and Rutgers just isn't. Doesn't seem to be at least the caliber of team to, even if we are looking ahead a little bit, to really give us too much trouble. But it's crazy when you flip through the game schedule. I was trying to think when looking through each game, and it's like, at what point during the year was I even concerned at any point during a game? And I would say, honestly, it was probably only twice. It was the fourth quarter against Texas after they scored to make it 14-7. And it looked like, and I think they did get the ball back even, down to score. There's a little bit of trepidation at that point. And then halftime against Penn State, maybe after the fumble and they scored going in, and we were up 3 getting the ball. So it's crazy, how worry-free this season has been.
Right.
And again, it goes back to there's a good level set on being spoiled. And we've kind of been spoiled through this season, and you come off a national title, and it's like, all right, this season's, we all say it, right? Oh, this season's a free pass. Like we just want a title, so we're not going to complain about anything. Like, we just want to beat Michigan, and now we're like, we've seen what we've done, and we're fans, and I get it, and it is a difficult fan base sometimes, and obviously there's high expectations, but I feel like we're all on like, man, we better win the title this year. Our team's so good, like we need to win it all, and it's just crazy. And then you think about Ryan Day's job and like what what his job entails, and if any of us had to have jobs where it required us to never have a losing day, basically, it's pretty unbelievable, but exciting nonetheless. But yeah, there's not much to say on Rutgers, other than just go out, take care of business, pad a few stats, get some more guys in the game, stay healthy, and as soon as that game ends, Michigan week begins.
Exactly.
It's time to lock in.
Absolutely. So real quick, to go back to your point, I don't even know if I was worried in that Texas game up until after we scored. Like, I was maybe a little bit nervous when it was 0-0. Then there was bomb to I think CJ Donaldson had the first touchdown. Once Carnell Tate put us up 14-0, I think it was 14-0 with about 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They scored, they do get the ball back, but from there it really wasn't much of a score. The only game I was like a tiny bit like nervous was that Washington game.
There's a little bit there, yeah.
Right before Jeremiah Smith scored, but in that first half to take the lead. But even Penn State, like, they go on a 21-0 run to win there. That Purdue game, you look, it's 34-3 with a minute left and they score. UCLA gets a garbage touchdown. So
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, I'm sure we have this stat, right? But I can't imagine there's been a season possibly in the history of the program. We have not been tied or down in the second half yet this year, I don't believe.
I don't believe so. No.
So through 10 games, I wonder even just like how many teams in the last 25 years of college football have gone through the first 10 games of the season, and probably will be 11 games of the season. And wouldn't it be nice if it was through 12? If you could go through a regular season without being tied or trailing in the second half, that is absolutely absurd. But so it's just crazy to be like, yeah, because you would think there'd be one of these games, like even the Washington game, it'd be like, oh yeah, remember that Washington game where you're down like 7 in the third quarter and had to bat? Like, we haven't had any of that. It's crazy. Just the consistency right now, to the point that it's like kind of a little boring, but like boring in maybe the best possible way.
So just a real quick Google search, and I don't think this has been updated since late October, but as of late October, Ohio State was the only school in FBS not to trail in the second half. And then North Dakota State, Tennessee Tech, who I think just lost or hasn't been down, and then Harvard. Those were the only 3 in FCS. So we're talking another, that's nearly 300 football teams. So pretty damn good. That's an excellent point there. All right, let's move on just to a few of the numbers from this past weekend. So Julian saying, not an eye-popping or stat game, but like, again, just a really good, efficient game. And it rained most of that second quarter. It was pretty windy there, and still thrown for 23 of 31. Plus, again, the chemistry with the other receivers, Mylan Graham and, some of the Quincy Porter and Bryson Rogers. I mean, most of the backup receivers were playing most of this game. Brandon Innes had a nice game, so they had some sort of connection. But you could tell, the chemistry wasn't quite there as it would be where Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate. But for the most part, a pretty damn solid game. And again, like you said, and I think we even were like driving back in the third quarter, and we heard Jim Lachey saying like, "Oh, it's weird to see his percentage under 80%,
Yeah.
for a game." But like again, pretty damn good.
And a lot of those incompletions really were like in the third quarter too, because I think he had completed it like around. There was one point where he's I think 10 for 10 or something along those lines. And the interesting thing, my one quick point is that, and we mentioned this at the game, he was throwing into some tighter windows than normal without his top receivers. And UCLA was actually doing a decent job covering our receivers. So there were a lot of really tough throws that he made into some tight windows, which is a little tough night for the people who say like, oh, Julian Sayan's only good because he's got the two best receivers in the country and they're wide open all the time, because he hit some guys that were not wide open and made some really damn good throws.
And we mentioned before, I've seen some people on social media call him like a check down artist and this and that. And it's like the dude was like second in all of FBS out of 136 quarterbacks of air yards per attempt going into the last week's game. It was 10 yards per attempt. So this guy makes some serious throws down the field. So give him credit where credit's due. Jeremiah Smith, again, we've talked about him. We're going to talk about him a little bit more here, but only 4 catches for 40 yards, but he did that in 3 series. And, he still made that unbelievable one-handed catch on the sideline. Kind of looks like how I would get out of bed as a 40-year-old man after playing like a pickup basketball game or something. But to me, it looked more like a back issue than a leg issue. I don't know. But I do remember going back, he got like flipped upside down in that Wisconsin game.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I almost feel like it's lingering from that. But again, like some backs are weird. Like sometimes they flare up, the next day you feel great. And then like 2 months later, maybe he's warming up and just tweak something in practice or something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Like you got to think if it was anything like that was like really, really concerning, clearly he would have been in the locker room. Trainers would have been looking at him. So the back is a good point. And, it's sometimes those, I used to think that when, Major League Baseball players were out with back spasms, it's like, what's wrong with this guy? And then a few years ago, I had back spasms and I've had them like a few times, like over the years. Yeah. And it is one of the craziest things. Like it is debilitating. You can't move. It's like, so, but it also pays to be 19 years old.
Right.
And the way they can bounce back from that. So hopefully, hopefully it's overblown. Nobody wants to see him limping around or kind of gingerly. And that was a good analogy because it did look kind of like one of us getting out of bed. But yeah, I just hope it's much to do about nothing.
He kind of looked like me Saturday morning after drinking too much the night before. He'll be.
If he does it like 3 times to take a piss in the middle of the night, then we got problems.
His running mate obviously did not play in this game, and I think that's I think people are a little concerned about it, but if these two get back on the field, hopefully these two get back on the field, it's gonna be good stuff for the Buckeyes. But we'll talk more about them in just a minute. But I do want to touch on the running game as a whole. 33 attempts, for 222 yards, 4 touchdowns, and again 6.7 yards a carry. And I know it's against UCLA, who's not a great rushing defense, one of the worst in the Big Ten, but still. You're getting chunk yardage, you're getting big plays, and 2 of the guys that are being featured are true freshmen in Bo Jackson and Isaiah West. So, just overall thoughts real quick on the rushing attack.
Yeah, no, it's we've talked about it. Like we haven't run the ball a lot or consistently or committed to it. And part of that, I think, is just because the passing game is so good.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get later in the year, we are going to need to win some games on the ground and we are going to need to make some big plays on the ground. So whoever it's against, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it's not the best, it's not a great running defense. Still went out and did the job. Still went out and broke a few long runs, got some confidence. So, I think that's probably the most important thing is it's like between the offensive line and multiple running backs, it gets them confident and can continued confidence. And there's no reason to think we can't continue that against better running defenses. We can do it. We got the horses to do it. So it was good to see us do it. And as you mentioned earlier, it was a little windy. There was a little necessity there. You had some banged up receivers. So, it's all about kind of, again, trying to be as good as you can be for next week and beyond. And, the running game is a very important piece to that puzzle.
Absolutely. And, again, going back to the efficiency point, this team does not have to score 40 points a game like previous years' teams did. This team, I think if you score 21 to 24 points a game, you're pretty safe because against 90% of your competition.
Yeah.
This team is going to win most of the games based on that defense. However, when you have absolute stars on the offensive side of the ball, you want to see those points put up too. And it's there's probably going to be a game where the defense is challenged a little bit in the playoffs. But I think this defense, the offense kind of knows what's there. And like we always talk about that with the Browns, playing in unison, and they don't do that. Whereas this Ohio State team is the antithesis of that. They are the most, they play so well together. They feed off of each other. The defense leads to good offense. Offense leads to good defense, vice versa. Special teams, mostly all right, but, could improve. But, everybody is a little concerned with certain aspects of this team. But again, we're talking about the number one team in the country, a team that's won 14 games in a row, the longest win streak in the country. And, we know we got to get the monkey off our back, but this team's prime set for the Big Ten championship game. They're prime set to have a first round bye. And, there's a lot of good things to talk about with this team. Real quick note on Jeremiah Smith. Did pass up Garrett Wilson with only those 40 yards. So he is number 11 all time now in Ohio State receiving yards. And like I said, he only had 40 this past game. So Santonio Holmes is up next on the list. And look at the top 10. Some of these names: Michael Jenkins, that's Holy Buckeye. Emeka Ibuka, lighting it up in the NFL. Chris Olave, lighting it up in the NFL. David Boston was an awesome first-round NFL draft pick. Marvin Harrison, really great Ohio State receiver and doing great things in the NFL. Devin Smith, one of the best deep threats in all Ohio State history. Gary Williams, Chris Carter. Chris Carter, maybe one of the best receivers in the NFL at the time. KJ Hill, kind of like a do-it-all guy. Didn't make it in the pros, but just an unbelievable receiver in college. And Santonio Holmes. Oh, yeah, Super Bowl MVP. First-round draft pick. So we are in pretty good company here with the names on that list with Jeremiah Smith. So don't sleep on him. He will be just fine. Let him get his rest. Let him get what he needs, and let's get him ready. Real quick Heisman update. Julian Sayin, 226 of 282. He's still over 80% on the season. Only quarterback in the country to do that. 25 touchdowns to 4 interception ratio. 2,675 yards, so averaging through 10 games, 267.5 yards. And he is number 2 in QBR, 90.4 rating there. I really don't know what goes into that, but, it's whatever it is. If you're number 2 in anything, you're
who's number 1? Is Mendoza number 1? Or no?
I'd have to take a look. I did not look at the list. I just saw ESPN had them listed in QBRs.
Or I know there's that guy from UConn that I think hasn't thrown a pick yet, but that he might be him. Yeah,
could be him.
So at this point, is it probably safe to say it's a 3-horse race with maybe a small chance at a fourth horse for Heisman between Sayin, Mendoza, Marcel Reed, who kind of the new thing to do is to kind of play like shit for most of the game and then play extremely well in the second half and sort of bolster your Heisman chances by doing that. And then the fourth I guess Jeremiah Love is kind of like there, but they don't really, Notre Dame doesn't really have another opportunity they don't have any more showcase games. So I think,
Right.
The big advantage is to the other three is clearly you hope to have a San Mendoza showdown in the Big Ten championship, and then Reed's going to have one more game against Texas to potentially, and then an SEC championship beyond that to sort of
probably against Georgia
solidify his season. So there's going to be a lot of national stage games. So,
sorry about that.
Probably is a 3-horse race.
Oh, it's funny you say that because the next graphic is the Heisman list here. So Mendoza is even money right now. Julian saying 2-1. Marcel Reed right there plus 550, and then it's a big drop off after that. Diego Pavia still up there somehow plus 1500. Gunnar Stockton plus 2500. Haynes King 3300. I think Jeremiah Love is right behind him, but he's 40-1.
Yeah, so yeah, that's really interesting. Like because just knowing that, I don't know, knowing that the matchup would loom with Mendoza against the best defense in the country, to kind of I'm just surprised it's not flip flopped with him and saying, because you got to think Mendoza would have to beat Ohio State to win the Heisman,
exactly,
or play fantastic and lose, but somehow Sayin doesn't play fantastic. So I don't know what scenario that looks like. And clearly, I think the last I saw, I think it's been creeping up, but we were hypothetical 5.5 point favorites against Indiana the last time I checked.
Correct.
So just an interesting maybe misalignment in the Heisman odds versus the national or versus the Big Ten championship odds. It's almost like if you really like Mendoza to win the Heisman, you should almost go out and bet the Indiana money line against Ohio State and get better value than get even money for the Heisman Trophy. But that's just a thought. But
so you're saying there's a chance 2-1. I mean, that's pretty great odds, because they're going to go out. They're going to be 11-0 going into the Michigan game. If he gets Ohio, just think of the storyline. If he gets Ohio State over the hump of that Michigan game and takes them in and then beats the number 2 team in the country after previously, I know what Texas is now, but previously beating the number 1 team in the country in his very first start. And then you're the number 1 seed going into the college football playoffs. How do you not give it to the quarterback on the best team? So right now you jump on that, you throw a couple bucks down, you double your money right there. So why not? Why not? So yeah, that's what it looks like. But Greg makes a great point. If that, whatever narrative you're running with, that's a good way to look at it. I like the Sayin bet, and 2-1 right now. Jump on that, knowing what his numbers are and what this team has in front of it. All right, Greg, real quick. What are your biggest concerns the rest of the season? And obviously health is one, but what are your biggest concerns the rest of the season for this Buckeyes team?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying to you. We've been talking about it all year if I wasn't concerned about the Michigan game and just the mental hurdle of that. And are we going to, injuries aside, obviously we talked, like you said, we talked about that. Are we going to come out tight against Michigan, or are we going to come out and kind of just let it rip and just be completely dialed in and out for blood? That's really my biggest concern, is how we come out in that Michigan game. Because the longer, as we know, it's Michigan has not looked good pretty much all year. And they looked really bad against Northwestern. We're lucky to get a win. And as we watch that, it's man, this team does not look like they can compete with us at all. Doesn't matter where, when, they could play anytime, any place, and it's hard to imagine how they could beat us. But we thought that last year. So they're going to come in with sort of irrational confidence, no matter how poorly they're playing going into that game. And we're going to come in, hopefully, hopefully not with the between the team and the coaches, but I mean, we're going to be like have a little bit of almost irrational lack of confidence because we've just seen it how it's been. So being able to just get over that hump, and that's literally if we go right out, score a couple touchdowns early, go up 14-0, I think it alleviates all those concerns. But that is my biggest concern right now. Beyond that, I could we could talk about Indiana when we get there. That game sort of becomes more of a showcase game as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of a fun game, and it would be kind of like all right, Indiana has had 2 good years, and they think they're, they think they're right on par with Ohio State, and it's kind of a put little brother in their place type of game. But really, that doesn't have much bearing on what ultimately happens. And then the playoffs, to me, are just so far away. So it is like Michigan, and coming out in that game and taking care of business, because I don't even want to go there and imagine the feeling of coming up short in that game this year.
Yeah. A couple points you made too, like going up early. Like if you put this Michigan team behind the 8 ball, they're pretty much a one-dimensional team. They rely a lot on the run game. They're Justice Haynes is pretty much out for the year, and I think the backup running back
he got banged up too, didn't he?
He's pretty banged up, Marshall, and I'm guessing if he's good to go, he's going to play. But if you put Michigan in. We have plenty of time to talk about this, so we're going to just really quick touch on this. But if you put them behind the 8 ball where they have to pass and they have to, you have to make Bryce Underwood a passer, they're going to be in trouble, And I saw, Brandon Marsh put up better numbers than Jeremiah Smith ever has in his career. Okay, against Northwestern in one game. Show me the other games he's played and show me those numbers. So I don't want to hear it about Michigan and having, you also turn the ball over 5 times against Northwestern. So, but again, we need to focus not on them. We need to focus on us, what we do well. And something else I hope the narrative gets away from is the team that rushes for more yards wins the game. It's like, no, that's what cost you the game last year because you were so dead set on beating them at their own game. Now, Michigan doesn't have the 2 first-round picks at defensive tackle this year. But we also don't need to play their game. Play our game. Go out and win. You got all the weapons, all the skill you need on the outside. Go win the game with what you do best. And then, yeah, of course, mix in the run and, hopefully you bust 1 or 2. But, be a balanced attack like you've been. Be efficient. Go out and play some defense and get the job done that way and win Ohio State style. Don't worry about Michigan and what they're doing. So
and play fearless football. Do not, if we go out, play our game, and we throw and Sayan has a bad game and throws a bunch of picks and it goes that way, it would be awful. But it's better than if we just ran on 1st and 2nd down and just kind of went into our shell like we did.
Yep. So be it.
Go down swinging. Go down with your best. I really think there's no reason to think we wouldn't do that other than the fact that we haven't done that in the past few years. But, this Ryan Day is different. The coaching staff is different. We're coming off a national title.
Yeah.
The standard of excellence has risen. And no matter what anybody says, this game, this whole year has felt like it's been a big fuck you to the world to get to the culmination of this Michigan game. And then we'll worry about everything else after that. Amen. It has really felt like every week has just been this, like, we are focused, we are locked in, we are getting after it, we are taking care of business, but we are also doing it while trying to expend the least amount of energy possible. And we're kind of even running at like 78% on the throttle right now. And we're going to crank it up to 100 for that Michigan game. And this is going to be like the culmination of everything that we've done.
Yeah.
That frankly started with a national championship. It's like, this is the last really notch to check on kind of what we've accomplished in the last 12 months.
Yep.
Not counting what we will then hopefully accomplish after that.
Exactly. Well said. All right, let's take a look at what the college football committee put together based on their 12-team bracket. So pretty much the top top 3 stay the same. Alabama does lose. Georgia jumps into the top 4. So Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3 somehow won that game. And again, like you said, you go down 30-3 and you get a Heisman moment. So I guess you can play like dog shit for a whole half and still come back. But Georgia 4. So right now, and you got a whole mix with that group of 5. It could be Tulane, it could be Navy, it could be who else is in that? I think South Florida still might be alive there. I don't know. North Texas.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 teams. Tulane, again, as I mentioned, there's like 3 or 4 teams still alive for that spot. So we'll see. But Texas Tech slides into the 5 spot. You got your 6-11 of Ole Miss and Miami, which would be I actually think that would be a great matchup right there.
Yeah.
2 teams.
All of these would be interesting. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of fun matchups right now, and we know this isn't how it's going to look in 2 weeks from now, but this makes it kind of fun. It always is like, you play the matchup games and you see like which group of 3 is matched up. So, but for some reason that 4 spot always looks more appealing than the 1 spot. I don't know what it is, but it's like Texas Tech Tulane with Georgia looks a hell of a lot more appealing than Notre Dame and Oklahoma with the Buckeyes. So it is what it is, but that's what it would look like. We're not going to dive too deep into that, but I thought I would share that.
I would just say, like, right now it's, we're fairly clearly the number 1 team in the country right now. I would think, maybe semi-biased, but like, it's kind of like we've gone from like, oh, Indiana might be the second best team to like, oh, actually Texas A&M might be the second best team. I actually think right now Georgia feels like the second best team. And as far as like the team you'd kind of least want to play. So it'd be nice to get Georgia off of that 4 line if we're going to stay on the 1 line. Yeah. And my only other comment was that I think, and this is not necessarily an original take because I've seen it elsewhere as well, but I do think BYU is kind of getting the short end of the stick right now and not getting as much love. I mean, they're a very, very good football team. We'll see if they finish the year off with 1 loss. I guess they'd be playing in a Big 12 championship, right? So I guess that'll kind of decide it. But they're a very good team. But I feel like maybe instead of Miami, but yeah,
we're gonna get to like there's
the way it's set up. It's interesting.
There's some not necessarily the most like eye-popping matchups, but like a Georgia Tech Pitt this weekend is so huge because that's going to determine maybe who goes to the Big East ACC championship game this weekend, or in a couple weeks. But this weekend could determine that fate. So let's look at a couple of those matchups in a minute. But let's do our picks now for this game. So Rutgers 5-5 team, 2-5 in the Big Ten. Ohio State, as of now, I did see that total just looking at my app here right now, did drop to 54.5, but it's still a 31.5 point spread. So Ohio State 10-0, 7-0 in the Big Ten, number 1 in the country, 31.5 point favorites over Rutgers, 5-5 overall, 2-5 in the Big Ten, 54 now. We'll update that. This series began back in 2014. Buckeyes are 10-0 in the last matchup. It actually kind of started slow. And if you remember, I think it was like Denzel Burke or Jordan Hancock. I think it was Jordan Hancock actually had a pick 6 late in the first half that was a fairly close game for a little bit, but Ohio State won that game 35-16 in 2023. So your thoughts on this game, let's just like maybe the 30-second thoughts and prediction.
Yeah, I think like we've seen a lot of teams we've commented that they've been like content at just kind of like not getting their doors blown off and been playing conservatively. Greg Schiano has shown that he's going to probably go for it a little bit this game because he has a little bit of that irrational confidence. But I think it's just too much talent on one side of the sideline here. So I don't think it's going to be like an incredible dominating 50-60 point performance here, but I think it's like a 38-10 Buckeye win, kind of very pedestrian, and again just turn the page to Michigan.
You said 38-10?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, my score is very, very similar, only 4 points different. I'm going to go 42-10 Buckeyes. So 38-10 for Greg, 42-10 for me. We're both on the under, and I'm taking the Buckeyes to cover. Greg is taking Rutgers to cover in that spread. So either way, it's a nice, comfortable win. Who cares about the spread unless you're betting on it? And but the Buckeyes, I think, only that Purdue game so far.
Yeah.
Maybe the OU game, depending on the line you got,
Yeah.
have covered every other game. But yeah, that's a look at that. Let's take a look at some of the games we're watching for this weekend. So obviously this is going to be senior day at Ohio State. Maybe Carnell Tate dresses. He's not a senior, but we know Ryan Day and company let the guys that are going to be off to the NFL dress for that. I would not be surprised to see Carnell Tate in uniform, but maybe not play in this game, or maybe play a snap and off the field or something like that. But Ohio State and Rutgers, Missouri at Oklahoma, that should be a good one. USC at Oregon, that's where game day's at. And by the way, real quick fact, I'm in Boardman, Ohio here, and the game day bus just straight drives down 224 on Sunday late morning, and I just thought that was kind of cool. But on its way to Eugene, Oregon, apparently it was parked at the Boardman Home Depot the night before. So random little tidbit there. Pitt at Georgia Tech, again, that game's huge in the ACC. Michigan, I put Michigan at Maryland on here. Michigan is I believe a 13-point favorite, but Maryland has given them kind of fits before, and so that'll be an interesting game to watch to see if Michigan maybe is looking ahead, and maybe Maryland can keep it closer than the spread thinks there. And then BYU at Cincinnati, that's another good one there. So those are some of the games I pointed out. Also, we're going to talk real quick about the Youngstown State Penguins. They're at Northern Iowa, looking to clinch a playoff spot and win at the Unidome there for the first time since 1999, since a guy named Jim Tressel was head coach of the Youngstown State Penguins. Want to give a shout out to another 3-3-0 team, Division III 13-time national champ Mount Union, who's number 2 overall, earns a first round bye. They will host round 2 on Saturday, November 29th in Alliance, Ohio. Kent is playing right now. I haven't checked on the score, but I think Central Michigan was leading in that. And Akron at Bowling.
21-9 Central Michigan late in the game.
Okay. So there's some of the games there that we're looking forward to. Anything jump out to you on that list or anything?
Yeah, not a whole lot really. It's a little bit of a slow week. It's kind of the week that the SEC plays the FCS schools before rivalry week, so it is a calm before rivalry week. I mean, USC Oregon will be really interesting. USC is clinging to a playoff hope, and well, frankly, if they win this one, they will have a really good shot at getting in. But that's always tough to go to Outson. But yeah, you said Pitt, Georgia Tech for kind of, just possible stronghold on a spot in the ACC championship. I don't imagine, could Oklahoma have a bit of a letdown after beating Alabama? I guess it's possible. They tend to kind of have that sometimes. Missouri is a good team that can give you fits, but I would expect Oklahoma to take care of business in that game. But yeah, otherwise, hopefully Maryland can battle Michigan and make it a little tough on them and have them expend a little more energy going into our game. But yeah,
weird
something will happen. As always, something will happen.
Weird stuff happens on weeks you don't expect it to. Yeah. So be on alert for that. I'm just going to share this, but it's on our social media page. I'm not spending more than 5 seconds on this, but I compared Big Ten teams to houses in Game of Thrones this week. So you can go check that out on our social media. It's so wild. I try to post interesting stuff on social media, mostly Ohio State, Cleveland sports related. These always get the most traction, where it's over 100,000 interactions per week, which is pretty great. I think people like this stuff. So I'm going to continue doing it as long as people like it and share it. So, so good stuff there. But I appreciate you guys always for liking and watching and stuff. Real quick, I do want to touch before we go on the Youngstown State Penguins. They beat Larry Bird's Indiana State Sycamores this past weekend, 48-29. Bo Brungard, we talk about him every day or every show. It's redundant, but 23 of 30, 264, 3 touchdowns. Jaden Gilbert, another 9 carries, 91 yards. Brungard, another 17 carries for 90 yards, 3 touchdowns. So 6 total touchdowns for him. Every week he has at least 4 touchdowns. Max Tomczak, 7 for 109. Austin Bray, 4 for 28, but 2 touchdowns. Kai Wilson, 6 for 61 and 1 touchdown. But YSU 7-4, not the sexiest record out there, but 2 of their losses. One is to Michigan State, who they were within 10 in the fourth quarter in that game, and then the other loss was to South Dakota State, one of their other couple losses. But South Dakota State is, as I've mentioned in SP Plus and other rankings, they're basically a top 35 team in all of college football division. FCS, FBS, whatever you want to, put teams, you put them up there. They're a damn good team, and YSU took them right down to the wire. But they are playing in Northern Iowa, which is in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and they, again, haven't won there since 1999, since a guy wearing a sweater vest named Jim Tressel went in there and won a game in 1999. So if the Penguins win, they are in. It's, I believe, a 14.5-point spread. So best of luck to the Penguins. Get into the playoffs, and as we'd say, mess around and find out, and see what happens. But good luck to the Penguins this weekend. Good luck to the Buckeyes this weekend. Appreciate you guys watching the 330 Sports Show. For Greg, I'm Justin. Make sure, again, if you're an Ohio State fan, tune in tomorrow, 3:30. We're having Mike Adams live on the show, a former great left tackle for the Buckeyes and second round pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers, played about 5-6 years in the NFL. So we're going to pick his brain on some good stuff, and we'll go from there. So again, for Greg, I'm Justin. Appreciate you guys watching. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're a Cleveland sports fan, we're going to come back for a quicker show. I told Greg this is going to be about 45 minutes. It's never 45 minutes. So we'll come right back with a little bit of Cleveland sports talk, and appreciate you guys watching.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on